And welcome back to the EMEA Masters. I'm still Medic, this is Broxer, and here we have Mika as well, in case you're wondering. She decided that my lap is the best place to be while I'm shouting about League of Legends, which we just have to deal with. I'm sorry, the cat stays. This is the general rule that I have in this sort of situation.
Sounds reasonable enough. I don't think any of us are complaining about you paying the cat tax here.
Would you? We are going to get into our next game in just a moment, but we have a short, an elongated break between the games because SK Prime have just played, and so because they have another game back to back, we give them a little bit of extra time. As you can see, they're currently sitting at 1-1 alongside Riddle, Go topping the charts at 2-0, and Anorthosis Famagusta struggling a little bit at 0-2 so far. Do have the option to fight back, and maybe we'll see, you know, a three-way tie down towards the bottom side of the table, but expectations, I think, are that Anorthosis are going to struggle to find a win in this group.
Yeah, they are in a pretty difficult position coming in as the underdog, and their two games so far today have not been very enjoyable for them. They were relatively one-sided, but at the same time, you can never count anyone out, and, you know, it's not like it's all been negatives. They've had a couple of good moments here and there. Obviously, the ones we're seeing here are some of the moments where they got steamrolled by a very angry Olaf. Who knows, maybe there's an Olaf ban coming up. I probably would if I was them looking at the screen right now. But they are here for a reason. Like, you're not going to qualify to the EMEA Masters if you don't have something to offer. And in the Greek League, where they played leading up to this, they were an extremely dominant team. In fact, when they were ahead 15 minutes in, they won 88.5% of their games. So what I'm hoping we can see out of them is a strong early game. We don't necessarily need them to stomp their opponents to do anything crazy, but just come in with a good early game comp, with a good plan, and then anything can happen.
Oh yeah, definitely. I think if you just stick to your game plan, sometimes that can just be the best thing to do in a league like this, because often when you come into like the next level of competition above whatever you're usually playing, your expectations are, oh, we have to do something spicy, or we have to like stick to the meta, or play the way that everyone else in this league plays. But often, even at like worlds level, we see the teams that do the best and that upset the apple cart and perform above the level expected of them are teams that just stick with their own style. Like, you look back to the Yamato speech for Vitality, was it 2017 Worlds, 2018 Worlds, where it's just like, just do you, just play the way that you play. And sometimes that can be all you need to have. And like for Anorthosis Famagusta, they knocked out WLG in the play-in stage, who had previously beaten them in the GLL. So now they're the only remaining Greek representatives, I believe, as the second seed. And it's going to be a challenge for them. But if they can play their game, they can play their way, they definitely have a chance of picking up wins here and there.
And like we briefly mentioned earlier, it's not like SK Gaming are unbeatable by any means. They already have a loss versus Go, which was a very, very brutal game. Looked about as difficult as the games we just saw on our screen now from Anorthosis. And who really knows what side the coin is going to land on for SK? Are we going to get the SK that are making a couple of hiccups in the early game, in the mid game, and that don't really get the setup going? Or are we going to see the SK that we just saw in the previous game that were on point from start to finish with really clean, methodical team play?
And that's the question. You've got to ask yourself whether we'll see SK really just dominate this game, or whether we'll see perhaps a little bit of light for Anorthosis Famagusta. So far, this group, we've seen basically the same meta as to be expected. You know, a Kindred pick here or there, but we saw Kindred picks earlier today in the LPL as well. Shun bringing them out. So it's not something that is so far removed from the meta as to be surprising. If you were to draft in this current meta, if you were looking at junglers, like apart from, we'll get rid of Vi, Sejuani, and Maokai, because, you know, and we can put Lee Sin off towards the side as well, because we know Lee Sin is, oh, okay, I'll see you later, Mika. We know Lee Sin is like a possibility as well. What would be your jungle pick to upset the apple cart, Maz?
I think currently we have a pretty interesting jungle meta. We're sure we have the core junglers that we see in most games in competitive, but You can also look for something proactive like a Cho'Gath and Eyliph, something that can spice things up a bit in the early game and bring a lot of proactivity. Of course, there's a certain risk involving that because a champion like Eyliph in particular has to win the early game to be useful. Cho'Gath can also function in the late game, but at this point, if you're Anorthosis, you're gonna have to run a risk at some point. And for what it's worth, they do have 3 Eyliph games, 3 games in Cho'Gath. There's also different routes, right? But yeah. I think in general, if you have to look at the jungle pool, that is what you're gonna want. Now, I actually like the bans from SK Gaming here a lot because both Cillian and Rel are champions that Anorthosis have had a lot of success with in the past, taking away the unknown factors, so to speak, some of the champions that you may not have as much experience playing against, while also being comfort for the enemy team, is a really, really smart choice.
Yeah, I think that's always smart. It's the same reason we see the Kalista ban coming out against Keduii, right? His most played, I think, across the course of 2023. So just making sure that you can kind of limit that pool, make sure that you have these more experienced picks. Obviously, Keduii here could still go Zeri on 1-2 alongside a jungler here with the Vi removed and the Gragas already locked in. Maokai or Sejuani are usually where we look to go, or even the Wukong for Lurox, if he so desires. Instead of the Zeri, though, it looks like it's going to be Xayah for SK Prime. Gives you a little bit more safety for your AD carry.
And at this point, we should be seeing a response in the AD carry role, and then they're going to have to determine on Anorthosis' side if they want to match the Wukong or pick the entire bot lane duo. I think at this point there's not too many junglers banned, and they could potentially let jungle go to 4 or 5, get a favorable situation in the bot lane with Zeri. Could be something more engage heavy like a Nautilus and a Mumu, could be a Lulu if they want to go for scaling. But again, they can flex it in whichever way they want. Also worth noting that usually Gragas can be played in the jungle, but it's not something that Spooky has played before. They've only played Gragas mid or top lane. So in this position where it's a do or die situation, I wouldn't expect that to change, and I think that Gragas is going to go solo lane one way or the other.
I think I agree with you. As much as it would be cool to see Spooky bring out something new, it looks like it's going to be Viego for him, which is still something new. But we very rarely see solo lane Viego, so expectations are that will be Viego in the jungle. Now SK going to look down towards their bot lane. So they've locked in once again jungle bot, which is what we tend to see out of teams on 13.6, whereas Anorthosis Famagusta have decided to experiment a little bit. Could of course be Gragas support, but likely that they've locked in either their mid or their top. A little bit of flexibility there alongside their jungle and their AD carry.
And now, because Gragas can go in either solo lane, SK Gaming are gonna have to decide which one of their solo lanes they want to blind pick. Jace is still open, could be a good option for them, but otherwise what we normally see from a red side team is banning a couple of top laners, picking a safe tank on 4, and Anorthosis realizes that could be the upcoming plan, so Cassandra has been banned away, could look into a potential Cyan or on ban as well, but we'll see how it plays out.
Yeah, we will. For the moment though, it's just going to be top lane focus here from both of these two teams. As you say, Cyan and Ornn possibles. There's the Pyke ban away from iLevi. He's played it about 3 times, I think, across the course of 2023 so far, or at least of spring. But I'm not sure I'd like Pyke that much, I'll be honest, into Xayah and Nautilus anyway. I think it's a pretty not very nice matchup for the Pyke. So maybe just trying to make sure that no curveballs can be thrown by Anorthosis Famagusta.
I think so as well, because I can tell you pretty confidently that the Zeri player would not want her support to be leaving her alone and roaming around the entire game like a Pyke does. But again, like you mentioned, just make sure nothing surprising happens. And Kennen now coming out as the blind pick for SK Gaming, something that JNX has played at a very high level in the past in the LEC, and now for the first time he's going to be bringing it to the national leagues as well, because he actually hasn't played it for SK Gaming Prime yet this split.
And yeah, I think it's not too surprising it hasn't been played that much until now, because 13.6 was when the Kennen buffs really came through, right? So having that extra damage on Q, having the minion damage on your E as well, just makes it a lot easier for Kennen to survive in those laning phases and then come out and do the damage later on. Taric, a little bit surprising though. Not something we too commonly see in the support role. Very outrageous pick, you could even say in this. The Cho'Gath as well. That's a very powerful front line to sit in front of this Zeri. Little worried for whether or not they'll have enough damage, but Cho with the feast, and if you go Night Harvester Gragas or if you go damage Gragas, you should be able to round out your damage profile a little bit here for Anorthosis. It's tried and true as well. It's like it feels very Anorthosis, which is what I like about it, and it's kind of what we talked about pre-draft. It's like, just play your style, do what you want to do, and then see how well that matches up into these other teams.
The thing is, though, they're playing their style with 3 champions that they have not played a single time the split in Viego, Cho'Gath, and Taric. So this is a curveball
Eyliph has some Cho'Gath games. Eyliph has like 4 Cho'Gath games, I think.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah,
my eyes have deceived me. It's only
it might be Gragas top.
Viego and Taric then. Well, in this case, if HawHaw actually takes the Cho'Gath, then I guess my point still stands. Thank you for saving me. I can keep my analyst points for now. No, but all in all, they're spicing it up, and I like it, because when you have your back against the wall, when you're in a do-or-die position, often just throwing a curveball can give you a solid advantage, or at the very least increase your chances of winning, because we've seen them try to go for their standard comps. It hasn't really been working, so why not try something new?
Well, because sometimes the new thing doesn't work, man. Sometimes you try something new and it blows up in your face. However, we'll give them credit for trying so far, at least. We'll see if it blows up. It might, it may not, who knows. SK Prime obviously coming off a good game against Riddle just a couple of moments ago. They are 1-1. Anorthosis Famagusta looking to pick up their first win at the EMEA Masters group stage, or main stage, I guess, as we make our way onto Summoner's Rift for our 5th game of the day. Would be a big result for the Cypriot organization if they are able to pick up a win. It would be a big result, of course, for the GLL as well, the Greek league, from which Anorthosis Famagusta do hail. Levi walking back here. Dazzle coming out. Prime's going to have to flash away. Golden Toast joining up with the fight. They get the knock-up on the Prime as well. There's the exhaust. Now, this Nautilus doesn't have flash, does have the hook, but he's taken out before he can get away. First blood over. Spooky looking for more as he lands another flash onto Lurox, who has to flash away himself. Levi could look for something. Flash Dazzle a possibility, but so far the only dazzling that's being done is Anorthosis Famagusta dazzling SK Prime with first blood.
And I think for a moment, SK Gaming's AD carry Keduii was literally over in North America. He was on the other side of the screen, so far away from his team. They were in a 4v5 situation. He was trying to run up the river, trying to cross the Atlantic to make it to his team, but he wasn't able to make it in time. And I'm not really sure what that play was for SK, I'll be honest. I think they're not really in a position where they have to do something random level 1. And Anorthosis clearly were ready for it. Well, at the very least, next time, please walk in with all 5. I'm getting anxious watching invades like this one.
It's a solo queue invade, you know, like what your support's pinged, hey, I have Q first, I want to go in. Half the team's like, yeah, okay, I saw it. The other half the team's like, oh, I was grabbing a coffee, I didn't get out of the shop quickly enough. Obviously, Anorthosis Famagusta on the right page. We're able to find that first blood. Does go over to HawHaw in the mid lane, who went back and got himself a Sapphire Crystal. Probably Rod of Ages Cho'Gath in that middle lane. It's kind of what I expect to see. Both the junglers starting on the top side of the map here as well, Boxer, as they work their way down towards the bottom lane. You managed to get a Zeri ahead early. Can be pretty devastating, as SK showed us to great effect last game. Perhaps they'll be on the receiving end of it this game.
And I think that's exactly what the 2 junglers have realized, that bot lane is going to be really, really key, really important lanes for both of these 2 teams. And at the same time, Nautilus doesn't have his flash available. Anorthosis wants to look for a gank on the Nautilus. Lurox wants to make sure it's not happening, so he wants to be around to counter. And at the same time, for us as viewers, this is going to give us an opportunity, hopefully, for a big fight in the bot river here in 30 seconds when the crowd is up and available.
You've said that now, though. So we know that's not going to happen. Anything else in the world could happen. But the fact you've said, hopefully, as viewers will see a big fight, we know the big fight will never materialize.
Are you saying I already learned how to cast a curse games?
Yeah, it's like an inherent skill. It's like how if you're a human baby, naturally you'll swim up to a certain age. I think it's like up until about 4 months, you have this reflex to swim. And to like grab hold of things as well. It's how like monkeys wouldn't fall out of trees, because when they were, you know, just baby monkeys, they naturally reflex grab onto trees. As a caster, you reflexively have this ability to cast a curse by whatever you say. And you know how you said we were going to see a big fight. Well, we didn't. Spooky's passed all the way up to top lane.
I'm pretty sure we're about to.
I mean, but this isn't a big fight, because a big fight's 6 players.
What I was talking about.
This is a smaller fight. As the Dazzle comes out, they manage to land the stun onto Keduii. Flash forward as they get underneath the tower. Golden Toast going low, but the heal from Cosmic Radiance, not enough to keep him alive. No one from SK Prime tanking the tower. After that, Nautilus escapes, and it's a kill over to SK. They're looking for a little bit more. Spooky on his way across to try and help out this Taric. The flash Dazzle. Keduii flashes away. The exhaust coming out as well. Prime tanks the tower, but he's executed as Lurox and Keduii are able to walk away from this one.
And that is the moment where Prime just quickly opens all shots, drops a GG easy as he gets executed by the turret. That's a really difficult situation.
Oh, I thought you meant Prime as the team. Okay, I thought you were like, they're just going to say
the Nautilus would die, that Prime. I mean, it's too confusing with double Prime. Either way, I really like the execution here. You can see SK Gaming, they're just taking their time, making sure that Prime is the first engage. In general, when you're diving on turrets like this one, you want to make sure that you all go in the exact same second so no one takes free damage. And here, they messed up the dive a little bit with Keduii being the one tanking. You usually want your main damage to not have tower aggro. But even then, because Prime, the player Prime, the Nautilus medic, was able to get executed, it worked out pretty nicely. Also was a difficult position for Spooky to be in, because his camps were spawning on the top side, and he walked all the way out of base to bottom, now having to slowly path the other way back up, away from his team, and he wasn't even able to accomplish anything bot lane, so that's a feels bad man if I've ever seen one.
Yeah, you can see he's already 500 gold behind. Lurox has that Sheen complete on his way to a Divine Sundra already. He's about 600, yeah, 600 gold ahead. It's going to be in prime position to really do a lot of work on this Wukong. I think a lot of people underestimate just the power of Wukong, not only in his ability to teamfight because he has the Cyclone, because he has all of this pressure and zone control in fights, but also just the damn damage that the monkey has. If he slaps you over the face, you're taking a trip back to the fountain pretty lickety split, and that's exactly what happens. Lurox now 3rd kill on the board down towards this bottom lane, and Spooky went up towards the top side to clear out his camps. Lurox didn't give a damn about farming, instead just wanted to slap heads and gets himself on the board once again.
And at this point, it is very, very scary being up against this monkey. Not only is he angry and sprinting but constantly to take over the game, but with Wukong in particular, the moment you get Divine Sundra, you literally feel like a raid boss. You are so strong, you have so much power, and he's getting that pretty quickly now because he's doing the dragon, because Cho'Gath was able to get the mid push, however. There's a play happening on the other side, medic.
Yeah, but it's Genax. Like, it's Slicing Maelstrom Kennen. No flash on him. Slicing Maelstrom used. Ayliph not tanking up the tower yet, though. Genax was a little bit early. Ayliph knocked back. Almost falls, but in the end, it is Anorthosis Famagusta that do manage to pick up the kill. TP invested from FEBIVEN as well. Lurox takes the dragon down towards the bottom side, as SK Prime may be looking for a little bit of an invade. Instead, it's just Prime himself, the Optimus of SK's team, who will clear out a bit of the vision control. Let's have another look at this, because I think Genax's Slicing Maelstrom is just a fraction too early. He tries to clear out the wave, but no one's tanking the tower at that point.
Yeah, the ultimate came out a little bit too early, but generally I like how he played it a lot. He was sitting a little bit behind the turret, putting Anorthosis in a position where they had to go really aggressively to get to hit him, and due to his positioning, he was so close to getting a kill, but the clean Gragas ult just crushed the streams, and ultimately he did what he could. They could also needed the teleport to come in slightly earlier from FEBIVEN. If that TP had come in just, 3-4 seconds earlier, it could have been a different scenario.
Definitely could have. For the moment, though, SK Prime in a very strong position. Lurox, all 3 pieces of the Divine Sundra already completed with the Kindle Gem and the Caulfield's Warhammer. Alongside that, Sheen, 1,000 gold lead for SK and for Anorthosis Famagusta. You have a couple of kills in the mid lane. HawHaw, the only player on their team with a gold advantage over his lane opponent, but in all honesty, in a scaling battle, I think I picked the Cassio over the Cho'Gath.
You might, but I'm telling you from experience that these AP Cho'Gath should not, be taken lightly. It's a very, very scary champion once it gets going, and right now, he's the win condition for Anorthosis, so they better do a good job setting up that monstrosity in the mid lane for success. So far, SK Gaming are in the driving seat though. Sure, they're gonna have to give up a little bit of farm here, but that's because Lurox is on top side, securing the second objective for his team. Now, Anorthosis was able to recover a little bit of the bot situation. SK Gaming dropped a lot of waves, a couple of plates in the bot lane department, but now Lurox is coming back and they're gonna have to run, because fighting that Wukong is not something I would recommend in this current moment.
At what point would you recommend it, though, Roxanne? I feel like from this moment onwards, that Wukong only gets more deadly, only gets more difficult to deal with. And Lurox starting to step in and steal away some of these camps. The Dazzle will land from iLevi, but in all actuality, Anorthosis Famagusta just have to be so cautious around this. All can be Rift held down towards this bottom lane. They'll probably look for one more plate before they do put down the Rift held, if they are going to invest it. And in fact, they may just use Lurox for his pressure to force Golden Toast and iLevi away from the tower. No Rift held as of yet. Instead, it looks like it's going to be a reset from the SK Prime bot lane.
And I like Wukong not placing the Herald yet. There's really no reason for Lurox to rush it, because the truth is, when the enemy jungler has Herald, you're just gonna have to try to match him the entirety of the 4 minutes where it's available. Sure, he could have popped it, maybe they could have gotten another 2 plates, but now there's so much pressure on the Viego, and he knows that he just has to run around the map trying to predict where Wukong is, because if Wukong shows up somewhere with his finished Divine Sundra, there's a high chance, 4, 5 plates, maybe an entire turret is dropping if he can find an opening. Taric is coming up in 1 minute and 20 seconds, so Lurox is aware of that, moves to his Raptors, starts pathing towards the bot side. You can see when looking at your minimap that there is 0 vision around the dragon for Anorthosis. Levi is now showing up and clearing a little bit of the vision, but it is completely dark, and SK Gaming is in a perfect position to take this dragon fight.
It's just so tricky for Anorthosis really to do anything. You can try and get some vision control, but you don't have an upgraded relic shield yet on iLevi. Would love to know how far away he is from that. If the observers can hear me, just let me know. We'll click on that Taric and we can see how much gold he has. But right now, it looks like SK Prime are setting up down towards this bottom lane. The dragon up in 30 seconds, as you say, Boxer. That's their prime objective right now.
Wow.
Oh. Yeah, thanks, man.
I have nothing else to say. You get a wow and that's about it. Then we move on with life.
I'll take it. Can I wait? Can I get an Omega lol, or do I need to give you 20,000 channel points for that?
Let's see what happens. Maybe there's going to be a good moment for it later when one of these teams mess up the macro. Not that it would ever happen, because they're both absolutely flawless. But we'll see where it takes us for now. Prime is sitting in the tri-bush, making sure that Anorthosis doesn't get anywhere near the dragon. Lurox is on point, taking it with FEBIVEN on spawn, and now we can see that the Herald is very, very close to timing out. There's around 40 seconds or so for Lurox to pop it. Seems like he's committed to popping it in the bot lane. FEBIVEN in the meantime pushes out mid and should be able to hover down and join if they wish to make it a team play.
Levi's going to try and get away from this one. He's burst before he can even bring down that Cosmic Radiance. Starlight's Touch, not enough healing for him. With the Divine Sundra here, they should be able to chip away at this tower enough that the Rift Herald charge will kill it off. SK Prime will get first turret of the game. 5 plates down towards this bottom lane as well. And Keduii goes 1.5k ahead of his lane opponent. 1,000 gold lead for Lurox as well, and 3,000 across the board for SK Prime.
And SK Gaming Prime here for the second game in a row, just being on point in every way possible at the start of this game. The team play is on point, the vision is on point. I love the jungle path that we're seeing from Lurox. Sure, he's down 3 camps compared to the enemy jungler, but that's because he's been sacking farm to be proactive, and it's been paying off. Eventually, we're going to need some proactivity for Anorthosis to get themselves out of this difficult scenario, because once SK Gaming gets the setup, like we just saw, they're just too clean. So I think the best bet for them is going to be, well, first and foremost, to be a little bit careful when you should know that enemy bot lane is rotating to top. What I was going to say though is that when they are rotating, that's when you can catch them. Catch them before the vision has been applied, before Xayah is already sitting top, Wukong Nautilus are in your jungle, because that's the situations where you can create a man advantage and catch the SK off guard.
Yeah, it's just whether or not you ever get into that situation. In the last game against Viego, we talked about SK maybe overstepping, you know, positioning poorly, playing around fog of war poorly, but they really didn't do that. Viego never had an opportunity to catch them out, and Anorthosis Famagusta in a similar hole right now, 4,000 gold behind. However, Keduii and Prime maybe have overstepped. The caster curse is strong in me, as well as Golden Toast dashes forward. No Feather Storm for Keduii. Golden Toast taken down to about half, but Keduii is shut out by Spooky. Now chasing towards Prime. Lurox going to try and turn this one around. The Cosmic Radiance coming down, and Golden Toast still able to survive it. FEBIVEN goes in with the Petrifying Gaze, stunned up with the Dazzle. The root coming out as well. The Miasma onto Levi makes it a little bit tricky for him to escape, but the Miasma times out and he's able to flash away, and in the end, it's a 1-0 in favor of Anorthosis Famagusta.
Beautiful play, beautiful opening. And we're gonna see the replay right here on our screens. Keduii and Prime are a little bit overextended without any backup near them. Golden Toast confidently going over the wall. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful W flash from Viego. Keduii tries to flash out, but ends up absolutely wasting it. And while Wukong is ridiculously strong in this current scenario, jumping in 1 versus 3 is not generally something he can do. Ended up going in a little bit early before the FEBIVEN was able to join the fight, and I think ultimately this time around Anorthosis was the team playing the best, having the coordination on point. SK were jumping in kind of one after the other, and as a result were not able to collect anything. Now they ended up coming out on the map with tempo, and Anorthosis spacing a little bit late, and as a result secured the Rift Herald for themselves.
Yeah, it's one of those things where after you get a kill, sometimes you stay around for a little bit more, especially when you're a little bit in the hole. Like, you get a kill, you're like, oh, we can get, you know, some extra damage on this top lane tower, or we can get an extra wave, and it means that on the reset that you lose out just a little bit. I've seen a couple of people in chat just saying that it's a bit weird that it shows Anorthosis Famagusta as having 4 kills when actually they only have 3. It's because there was an execute earlier in the game. Prime died on the bot lane dive without getting tagged by anyone. So that's why it shows there. I pinged it personally, because we have this happen in the LEC as well, actually. I pinged it with our stats team, and they say they're going to get it changed. We just haven't managed to change it yet. So apologies that it looks like Anorthosis have 4 kills, but actually they only have 3. But that's the reasoning for it, and hopefully it will be corrected in the coming time at some point over the next little while. If you are confused by it, just -1, you know? Just -1 from that. Imagine that Anorthosis are constantly missing a cannon. Sorry.
Imagine getting pinged by the Rakan god himself.
Oh yeah.
Lucky person sitting out there, seeing that message soon. Anyways, we're seeing Anorthosis group up around the dragon area because it's spawning in 10 seconds. Genax is trying to stay a little bit away from his team with Kennen, which is exactly what he needs to do, find a flank when an opening presents itself. I really like SK popping the Rift Herald here because it puts Anorthosis in a situation where they have to respond, they have to group mid lane, and when they do that, the river is open and SK can move down for the dragon.
Will be their 3rd of the game as well if they're able to secure it. 18 minutes in as well. It's a nice, quick Dragon Soul stack for them. I mean that we get towards that Infernal Soul at 24 minutes. There's always a possibility of a steal. Of course, Heartbreaker from Viego can get over that wall. You have the Cosmic Radiance that Taric ult as well can be a bit tricky for SK to play around, but actually it looks like Anorthosis are just going to back away. They'll work their way up towards the mid lane, try and get this mid lane tier 1. Opening up can do a lot for you. TP coming in from Genax, looking for that flank. Prime already down. Keduii trying to put the damage down as well. The Cosmic Radiance has been used. Genax coming in with a slicing Maelstrom, gets on towards the backline. Heartbreaker away by Spooky. The Dazzles are being used as well. But iLevi has already dropped, and it's 1-for-1 so far. Both the supports have fallen in the fray, and the mid lane tower still stands on either side.
And if you're Anorthosis here, you definitely say, we take those, because SK used the teleport, used the flash and Kennen. You still have both available on your top laner, and ultimately SK thought they had a big flank with the Kennen, but Anorthosis, they stayed as a unit and they were able to recover from the hard engagement. You see it right here. SK are trying their best to catch up, but at the end of the day, while they get one kill, the rest of Anorthosis just sits too far back and they're not able to utilize the TP as much as they had hoped for.
Yeah, really good ultimate as well from Eyliph on the Gragas. Managed to knock Lurox and Prime into the middle of the fight, making it really tricky for them to find the positioning they wanted. Like, Prime was basically dead before Genax could even get in with the TP. So Anorthosis showing us that they do have some chops in the team fight. If they're able to find a fight on their terms, they can end up winning out. There's only one item so far on Golden Toast, though. He's got the Caulfield's Warhammer. Maybe wondering if it's going to be a Navori second on the Zeri, as Genax caught out down towards this bottom side, knocked in. Eyliph showing his skills on this. Gragas will take out Genax. SK Prime investing everything into the top side, but we're caught unawares there as Genax falls.
Did Wonder name change, or what's happening here? I haven't seen Wonder play in the LEC for a while, Medic. It looks like he's returned with a different name in the EMEA Master, because that Gragas is clean. Like, wow, beautiful really gameplay coming out of him, and it is something that Anorthosis are desperately gonna need to continue, because in 3 minutes the dragon is spawning, and if they give that up, that is gonna be Infernal Soul for the enemy team. Now SK Gaming has really good control around the Baron. If they ever get an opportunity to start it, that thing is gonna be bursted down so fast with Cassiopeia, and they're starting to threaten, waiting for Anorthosis on the blue side to walk up aggressively and make a mistake, and here it might come, Melly.
You can see Spooky trying to step in. Lurox putting a huge amount of hurt down. Black Cleaver, Divine Sunder already complete. Spooky able to get himself away. But now SK Prime, no, there's no Heartbreaker on Spooky. There's no flash for him either. There is a Cosmic Radiance coming up on iLevi, so maybe Anorthosis Famagusta will use that Taric ultimate to get into the fight. You can see SK Prime actually backing away from this, realizing that Genax wasn't quite with the team, so he's going to catch that mid-wave, push in. They can look for this tower, but Anorthosis Famagusta actually have an opportunity here to try and collapse a little bit. Genax forced away, tower falls in the mid lane. Vision secured by Anorthosis. You gonna two-man this? You can two-man this. Cosmic Drive alongside the Everfrost. The backs have already started. You can see FEBIVEN has already gone back to base. There's a TP possibility. Control Ward goes into the pit. Lurox can jump across here. HawHaw tanking it up, but it's down to 9,000. And with the TP invested, you have to feel that SK Prime would have done enough to dissuade Anorthosis, and they've done exactly that, also.
And while it's nice getting the TP out of FEBIVEN and all, Anorthosis have no tempo right now. SK are able to come out on the map and start pressuring. Obviously Keduii is in base right now, but he's gonna be back out before Golden Toast, and now we can expect SK to slowly get the full setup again, basically put themselves in the situation they were in before, with the only exception being that the objective is gonna be the Dragon instead of the Baron. We do see HawHaw sitting in the top lane push on the Cho'Gath, potentially wanting to catch FEBIVEN off guard. The only problem is that while he's AP Cho'Gath, his items are Everfrost and Cosmic Drive, and there's no way that he's going to be able to solo kill anyone. So now FEBIVEN walks top, pushes out the wave, quickly bases, knowing there's 40 seconds on the Dragon, and this is where SK Gaming has to move down and get control. Obviously, they got a decent amount of control already, but the bases actually ended up coming in late, so the tempo they ended up getting from Anorthosis during the Baron has now been neutralized, and they're going to have to retake the Dragon area. This could potentially give Anorthosis a chance to find a flank on the Gragas or catch SK off guard, while they, for once, have good vision set up.
And Dragon spawning in 10 seconds. SK can just look towards the Baron. They don't actually have to take this. Drake is only first one of the game for Anorthosis if they do manage to secure it. Drakes were nerfed a little bit over the last couple of patches as well, so not as strong individually. Genax caught a little bit there with the Spectral Maw, the stun coming out, the Dazzle being used as well. This cast.
Check the Baron.
It's on the Keduii.
Check the Baron.
The Baron already down to 3,000 Boxer.
Check it.
They're looking for it. They're trying to get in, but already it's smited. Prime going to be on the front line now as well as Lurox going in with the Cyclone. SK Prime will sacrifice their support for a Baron, and that's a worthwhile trade for them, you have to feel. And now Anorthosis can look down towards that Dragon, but there's always the steal possibility from Lurox. Instead, they'll go for the mid lane tower. Genax has Flash, has Slicing Maelstrom's going to use exactly that to get in. iLevi low, TP coming in as well. And from actually wasn't TP, it was just a Heartbreaker steal away there by Spooky as he takes Kennen's soul. In the end, it's 1-for-1 underneath the tower. Spooky looking for a little bit more. As Prime now respawns. FEBIVEN still pushing in the top lane by himself. Baron power play has lost a little bit of its power after...
Look at the map,
but yeah, they're taking the Dragon and have 2 tier 2s, man.
Oh no, it's all falling apart. They got Dragon. They didn't really have a choice because it was Soul. But now, because they spent so much time getting that mid tier 1, they ended up trading it for two turrets, and it's just not worth it. Here, really smart by SK Gaming, realizing that they had no more vision left on the bot side, immediately walked to the Baron. Keduii and company were really good actors in the mid lane, full-on Hollywood style, because you know, Anorthosis just didn't realize the Baron is happening. We see Genax finding a good Kennen over the wall. But here, like, if you're SK, you don't care about trading 1-for-1. You have your Cassiopeia pushing topside, getting a tier 2 for free, and you know that afterwards, when Anorthosis retreats the Baron, their tempo is doomed, which is essentially what happened. Now we see FEBIVEN being put in the bot lane, starting to push out for 2 reasons. One being that he doesn't have his TP available and Genax does, so it makes more sense for Genax to be away from his team because he can easily follow. But FEBIVEN also has Baron bot, and thereby can pressure much harder in the bot lane by himself.
At the moment, he's got Lurox for company alongside Prime, just waiting around the corner. Spectral is forward from Spooky to steal away one of those small cloaks. He's had a pretty good game so far, Spooky. 3-0-4, Blade of the Ruin King, Divine Sundra complete for him. The Navoi Quick Blades as well have come in for Golden Toast. You know, 2 items across the board for Anorthosis Famagusta. They're in a pretty strong position as the Dazzle does land onto FEBIVEN. He flashes over the wall. Lurox coming in with the Cyclone as well. Heartbreaker, you trader there, and Spooky dashes out. Dazzle used. The decoy from Lurox will get him to safety. But while all of this is happening, Genax is just taking his time to push in top wave, mid wave, crashing towards the inhibitor tower as well. TP comes out from Eyliph as he knows he has to deal with the threat that is the Kennen. And now SK Prime use their opportunity to push in this bot wave. It's smart macro play. You get 2 waves crashing on the other side of the map. You make sure that Anorthosis have to deal with those, and then when they retreat to go and try and help out their inhibitor towers, you can just push forward and take the bot lane tower.
Yeah, all in all, just pretty much like last game, clean, solid macro play by SK Gaming, not really giving the opposition a chance to strike back. But we're 27 minutes in, and in the previous game, SK were very far ahead at this point. Now, sure, they do have a 5k gold lead, but it's not like Anorthosis cannot strike back. We're seeing some pretty solid item spikes coming in across the board. 2 items, Viego, Cho'Gath and Zeri. Same for Gragas, he's almost having his Void Staff now too. And if Anorthosis can find a good engage on SK Gaming's carries, then there's still potential and still a way for them to turn it around. Dragon is coming up in 2 minutes. It's the next big objective. It is Soul for SK Gaming. Anorthosis have to fight it, whether they like it or not. And as of right now, there's a lot of deep vision in their jungle. We see red wards all over the bot side. SK is already here, making sure that they don't give up any of it. And Anorthosis are probably gonna have to find a wave to just walk out mid lane to be able to contest.
Yeah,
Not that SK are going to let them necessarily, but you have to find a way to get the priority. Gragas doesn't have TP available, Gen X does. We're going to need to see Gragas moving down, but ultimately, no matter what they do, there's no easy answer, but you're going to have to find a way to get prio, and now that SK is facing, next mid wave might be the best opportunity they get.
I think that's the big issue, isn't it, right? You don't have TP on a side lane. It's hard to get prio into a Cassio Xayah as well as Zeri, right? You don't really have a strong range advantage anywhere. So now you have iLevi and Spooky pushing forward as Anorthosis, and you can try and get some pressure in, but Lurox able to dash away from the dazzle with the decoy. Gen X actually walking his way down here, perhaps doesn't think that SK have the best positions for a flank TP. There's a ward in the mid lane that he could use. Always the risk as well, if the Cosmic Radiance is still up, that just negates the entirety of Kennen's ultimate. Of course, gives you invulnerability when it does land. Gen X now joined up with SK, Dragon up in 15 seconds time, and the battle lines are drawn. SK down towards the southeast, Anorthosis up towards the northwest as they start to work their way down the river. Lurox chunked out by Spooky, down to half. It's a good little bit of damage. Ultra Shock Laser coming out as well as Golden Toast tries to extendo beam his way towards a bit of chip damage. Spooky stepping forward once again. Gen X being marked well here by HawHaw on the Cho'Gath. Explosive cast, knocked back. They try and get onto HawHaw. Cosmic Radiance coming out, and look at the damage already coming out from Golden Toast. That's a double kill. Lurox gonna have to cycle on his way away. It's another as Spooky takes him out. His dragon secured, and what a fight for Anorthosis.
Yeah, that was pretty incredible. Like, again, like we just spoke about, obviously SK Gaming were having a solid advantage, but you can never count down the opposition when they have reached up power spikes. We see SK Gaming making the mistake of going on AP Cho'Gath. Sure, he's building AP items, but champion is fairly tanky. Beautiful Taric coming in just in time to save all of them. And just all in all, Anorthosis playing really well as a unit and not giving SK Gaming a chance to play League of Legends in that fight. And with that, only 2.5k down, having the Baron available. Now we're gonna need to see them playing from ahead, being proactive, and finding some tier 2s of their own. Something that they're gonna need to look out for now when coming out on the map, because they still have a limited amount of vision, is anyone getting called out. SK Gaming could potentially linger around the corner and look for a pick before Anorthosis gets the setup. FEBIVEN is pretty much and doesn't have any mana available, is now taking blue buff and most likely is going to base, so I don't think there's going to be anything to be afraid of, and the setup will be theirs. HawHaw moved to mid lane initially out of base just to keep his team safe, and that's going to slow down their pressure a little bit as he then has to wander all the way to top lane, but we are seeing them push out, slowly gaining the control.
It's just whether or not they can be methodical enough, you know, especially when you're the last remaining team from your region and you're looking for your first winning group stage, and you know if you lose this game, it's going to be incredibly difficult for you to come back. There is a second round robin, it's double round robin for all the groups, but if you're 0-3, you're basically having to win at least 2 of your games next week, if not all 3, or on Thursday, not next week, if not all 3 to make it into the quarterfinals. The last remaining team from the GLL, Anorthosis, really need to do it by the numbers, to do it methodically. Slowly they're chipping away at Lurox. Spooky standing in the face of that Wukong. He's had a great game so far, now works his way up towards the top side alongside the rest of his compatriots. SK Prime just settling around the corner, trying to see if they can find something, poking and prodding, but at the moment the Baron remains for a minute, and it's Anorthosis in the driver's seat.
Yeah, we're seeing Anorthosis just, you know, being slow here, playing standard macro game. The solo laner, Gragas, is very safe in the mid lane, so he's the one being on his own. The 4-man groups in top lane now moves down as FEBIVEN is catching the top wave, having a man advantage for a little moment on the mid turret, and this is going to be ASK's chance to engage.
Keduii knocked back again. Oh, he dashes forward with the Gale Force as well. For a second I thought Keduii had been knocked into his demise, but instead it's Eyliph who dies. Slicing Maelstrom on towards the backline as well. Golden Toast now can open up, though. No mana on the Zeri. Not as important as it is on most AD carries, but does still help you out a little bit. FEBIVEN stunned up. Spectral more flashed away. Miasma coming down as well. Golden Toast down to half. Levi still alive. And in the end, a 1-for-1 trade. Both the top lane is going down. SK Prime now on the back foot as Anorthosis continue to push forward. Prime with the hook. The Zhonya's HawHaw flashing forward, and Prime will fall. Oh, the gargoyles at the last moment from HawHaw keeps him alive. However, Levi's gone down as well. We keep trading lane for lane, top for top. Now support for support. Spooky on a ward here. Doesn't quite know it. Lurox will dive in towards him. Spooky getting chased down towards the bottom side. Golden Toast can come across. Lurox is on his lonesome, but there's a TP behind them as FEBIVEN wants to join the fray. He's dashing forward, trying to get there with the home guards. Golden Toast dashes across the wall. HawHaw backs away, and in the end, the TP is for naught. And it's a 2-for-2 trade across the board.
And ultimately, we're seeing Anorthosis make the correct macro decision here. They're just a little bit over-eager. Eyliph overextends, disrespecting Xayah slightly. He thought he had the angle with the ult, forcing her back into the team, but there was no follow-up. SK Gaming are trying their best to follow, but despite getting the wall kill on the Gragas, Anorthosis is so strong, and they're able to stay as a unit, and SK Gaming simply cannot get anything more. Anorthosis walks up again for the tier 2, finally gets it, and then the fight breaks out again. Keduii here tries to go big, almost getting the double kill, but that Cho'Gath can't well. This is too tanky. Drake, by the way, is coming up in 10 seconds. We see SK Gaming having slight control around the river, but they're not in a winning position anymore. The game is pretty much even, and we're seeing the solo lanes of Anorthosis both being level 18, having a slight advantage on their opponents, and SK Gaming decided they're not ready to fight yet. They're going to continue waiting for the Baron, which is up in 120, trying to get that power spikes in time. All of a sudden, what looked like a game that could be very brutal for the Greek League has turned into a game filled with hope. Is this going to be the one that turns it around for them? How do you feel, Medic? Are you confident?
It could be. I'm never confident. Not in myself, not in anyone else. I'll be honest. I was just reminiscing. It was 17 minutes ago when I said, "Hey, SK Prime, they've got an 18th minute soul point. You know, this is a 24-minute soul for them." And since then, Anorthosis just haven't taken their hands off the wheel. They have been in control of this match, and every fight seems more and more confident. You can see HawHaw already level 18, FEBIVEN up there as well. Genax has been struggling on this Kennen. Eyliph's positioning and his explosive casts have been game defining. And now with Prime going in, explosive cast does not Prime to the side. Spooky looking for a little bit more damage. GA already finished on the Viego, making him a much more difficult nuisance to deal with. He's trading with Lurox. That's the Cyclone out of the Monkey King. And SK Prime are investing a lot and not getting a little. Another hook comes out. Eyliph locked up here. Stopwatch will buy a second. Featherstorm available for Keduii. Slicing Maelstrom coming out as well. Levi brings the Cosmic Radiance down, but it doesn't land in time to save his life, nor Eyliph's. And now it's SK Prime on the front foot. Guardian Angel out from Spooky. As Genax does fall, but SK in position to fight once more if they so desire, with a Cho'Gath up though, and with Spooky and Golden Toast up as well. Actually looks like Anorthosis are going to be the ones setting up around this Baron. At least they'll get the Scuttle Crab. HawHaw TP's in for a little bit of moral support at least. Looks for the Rupture. The knockup doesn't land. Keduii going forward once again to still have that Featherstorm. Looking to lock up HawHaw here, but the Gargoyle shield is absolutely monstrous. Spooky on the backline takes out FEBIVEN. Keduii is going to be able to kill off HawHaw as well. Spooky coming in from the side as well. Rooted before the Heartbreaker can come out. It's all on Golden Toast. He's no cream cheese, but he's able to escape as Golden Toast manages to get to safety. In the end, SK Prime do win out the fight, and it looks like it's a barren start for the German team.
Okay, Gragas is TP medic. Eyliph is going to come in and with TP in just a moment. Sure, Genax can follow, but Lurox is on half HP, and it's going to be a 3 versus 3 scenario. The one thing to keep in mind is that Zeri doesn't have too much mana available. Lurox is now desperately trying to finish the Baron, does get it, but can they shut down Golden Toast?
They do manage to shut down Golden Toast. In the end, a 2-for-1 in favor of Anorthosis. But the Baron, as you say, does go over to Genax, the only player on SK Prime holding that purple buff. And now, with the next Drake up in 2 minutes' time, I think we'll have a brief respite from the action, Boxer, before we get into what could be the final fight of the game.
And I have to mention one thing. While Kennens often can be very scary, and while this particular Kennen is now going to have both ult and flash up available before the next potentially game-ending fight, this Kennen medic has Riftmaker, Cosmic Drive, Sonya, and soon a Void Staff. In other words, if I am to be a little bit harsh, he deals only a little bit more damage than a caster minion. Sure, there's gonna be a stun coming out. Sure, he's gonna be tickling the carry Golden Toast of Anorthosis a little bit, but he's in a tough position, being 2 and 6, completing mostly supportive items. I'm gonna say now, however, speaking
the
of
explosive
damage,
cast!
Speaking
is
of
absolutely
damage,
smurfing,
Spooky
man.
does not want to lose this game. He is on a roll on the Viego, 6-1-9, stepping up massively for his team. And now, 1 minute left on the Dragon. For the sake of Anorthosis and the GLL, I would kind of wish that that kill had come in just 30 seconds later, because it would have given them soul. But they're still in a good position, and they can still maintain vision around the Dragon, putting SK in a position where they're gonna have to face 6 soon to get it. And if you're SK, you don't have a choice. You're now still in a position where you're 1.5k gold up because you completed the Baron, but in a fight in the river around Dragon, that buff is not gonna help you much, and they're gonna desperately try to use the buff to pressure to walk up the mid lane and make Anorthosis respond, but that's gonna be very difficult because they're looking for the Dragon and it's spawning in 10 seconds.
Anorthosis obviously do have the advantage when it comes to that objective secure. You've got the feast from the Cho'Gath. You've got them looking for a little bit more action. Prime already low here. Depth charge going out as well, but Prime gobbled up by HawHaw. No feast left for the objective, but instead they're looking for a fight. Slicing Maelstrom from Genax on towards the backline. Spooky's flashing away with the Cosmic Radiance. Keduii flashed over the wall, but Spooky chased him, and that's 2 more. And SK Prime can only stand and watch as their carries are decimated. Lurox pops the stopwatch. But I'm sorry, my dude. Golden Toast is on a golden road to victory. They might even just be looking to close this one out here. Infernal Soul, a possibility for them, but I can see blood in their eyes as the Nexus is on the cards for Anorthosis.
Yeah, we're seeing Anorthosis step up massively here with backs against the wall, being the underdogs going into SK. But despite having a difficult start in the early game, we see their mental strength, you know, just absolutely... Like, I'm actually almost speechless. It's so impressive finding this comeback, being in the position that they found themselves in, but they were dominating, playing so clean, so well as a unit, and everything that SK threw at them, they were ready, and they were on point, and showing that the Greek League should not be underestimated.
A huge victory for the GLL and for Anorthosis Famagusta. Obviously, their first in the main stage of the EMEA Masters, and what a way to do it as well. That group's got even more exciting now. You know, Riddle picked up a win, SK Gaming Primer picked up a win, now Anorthosis. Like, Team Go, yeah, sure, they're at the top, but who's gonna get the second spot, Boxer? That's what's exciting me now.
Yeah, it is exciting, as you're saying, seeing what's gonna happen, because this win in particular of Anorthosis just breaks the group completely open, and anything can happen at this point.
It really can. We're actually going to hear from one of the Anorthosis players. I believe Spooky is ready to talk to us. Spooky, my man, what a performance from you. You really, in the mid-game, it felt like you were the key reason that your team was able to get back into the game. Can you talk to me a little bit about just what was going on in comms? What was your strategy in the middle portion of that match?
In comms, we were like a bit chaotic, I would say. We tried to calm it down, but we had like a really good team comp coming into, I think, the game, and a lot of their champions would struggle against our champions. For example, Kennen, as you guys saw, she could never get her foot into the game because it's just like the nature of our champs. So we knew our team comp was really good. We always preferred if they engaged on us so we could play first target. And as soon as we get one reset on me, the game would be way easier. So I would say that was our plan in mid game this game.
So you already spoke a bit about your plan in mid game, but I'm wondering, going into this game, I'm sure you guys had a team talk about how you're gonna approach it, backs against the wall, being down 0-2 and whatnot. Like, what is the main thing that you all wanted to do as a team going into this game?
Thankfully, we had at least one game time to refresh our mind after losing 2 back-to-back games. In a pretty fast, to be honest. We lost them pretty fast, and we didn't really show anything. We in both of those games, we made a lot of mistakes, and enemies obviously are good, so they punished us accordingly, how they should. So we just looked to reset fully. We had our prep about this game, and we just said as soon as as long as we don't completely run it in early game, we actually stand a really good chance, and obviously we can show a really good face.
Now, I'm wondering one thing, because, well, obviously you guys' plan worked out perfectly and you were able to dominate SK towards the mid and late game, but you decided to pull out Viego, which is a champion you have not yet played in the spring split. So why was this game the one where it was time to play the Viego?
Well, we kind of would know what they would go as team comps, etc. They really like diving in team comps as well. So we didn't really play Viego, but we thought with them being a really explosive team, they could maybe give us openings for Viego, and like I said, give us at least reset. So I mean, also matchup isn't the greatest, but if Wukong dives deep and misplays, I can always play off of that. And nothing else would fit our team comp that much. We could maybe go some other jungle champs that are good into Wukong, like Sejuani, for example, but having Gragas Seju doesn't really make that much of a sense on first 3. So we just decided to go for Viego, and yeah, it worked out pretty well.
Yeah, it did. Worked out really well for you. I think you're 7-2 all time on Viego, having a quick look at your stats, at least in competitive games. So not too bad a record for you. Before we let you go and relax for the rest of the day and get ready for Thursday, is there anything you want to say to all of the fans out there watching?
Well, thanks for supporting us. We had a really good split and a really bad ending of the split, but we thankfully qualified to make it up to our fans. So now we still have things to show. So keep supporting us and stay tuned.
It should be a good end to the group on Thursday. Thank you very much for joining us. I hope you have a good night's sleep and good prep for the rest of the week. We're going to be right back with our final game of the day. Thank you, Spooky. Sorry. We're going to be right back with our final... That's why I don't do interviews, you know? We'll be right back with our final game of the day. Heretics versus the Istanbul Wildcats. Don't go anywhere.
Even the biggest champ needs a break.
Did anybody see Gragas KitKat?